Good morning. Okay, guys, today we are going to complete topic 17, biotechnology and genetic engineering. Firstly, let's remember what was explained in the previous sessions. Firstly, the meaning of biotechnology. We said that the biotechnology means uses of living organism systems to develop or produce a product or any technological applications that uses microorganisms. Like what? Like using of microorganisms like yeast in making or production of biofuel, or brewing, which meaning the production of beer and wine, or in making bread, and the uses of enzymes for making washing powder or extractions of the juice from fruits, or using of some fungus as microorganisms in making antibiotic like penicillin. And the last one, the genetic engineering. And we have one example about the genetic engineering, which is production of insulin. Firstly, let's talk about uses of yeast for different production in making bread and in making alcohol, or in brewing and production of biofuel. The difference between these three production is the type of sugar which will used by the yeast farms. Firstly, we know that yeast in bread, used in bread making. Firstly, yeast is microorganisms, so it performs respiration process. So firstly, the yeast fungus respire aerobically, which means in the presence of oxygen, then breaks down of glucose occurs. As a result of the breaking down of glucose, carbon dioxide released. When the carbon dioxide released, it makes the dough rise up. In case of absence of oxygen, yeast fungus start to respire anaerobically. But in this case, not produce carbon dioxide only. It will produce, in case of anaerobically respiration, carbon dioxide and ethanol, which type of alcohol. In case of making ethanol or making brewings, making beer and wine. In this case, the yeast fungus respires anaerobically, but the type of sugar in this one is different, not glucose. In this type of brewing making, the type of sugar is maltose sugar, which extract from the barley seeds for making beer. But it's the same by anaerobically respiration, carbon dioxide releasing, and this is used for making beer. In case of making wine, yeast fungus respire anaerobically, but it depends on the glucose or other type of sugar in grapes. This type of sugars in grapes is called, I will write, it's the same glucose in grapes, but in other types of fruits, the type of sugar is called fructose. But in grapes, type of sugar is glucose. In case of making biofuels, yeast fungus start to respire anaerobically by using the sugar from the maize plants. So in case of making beer or wine, especially for making beer, anaerobic respiration by yeast in case of using of maltose sugar. But in case of biofuel, anaerobic respiration by the type of sugar from maize. Next point, the disadvantages and advantages of using biofuel instead of fossil fuel. The first one, the advantages of using biofuel, ethanol biofuel from the yeast fungus. The biofuel from yeast fungus is sustainable, which means is renewable resource of energy, but in case of fossils biofuel, non-renewable. Both of them, fossils biofuel and ethanol biofuel, both of them reduce and releasing carbon dioxide. But the amount of carbon dioxide releasing from biofuel of ethanol less than that in case of fossils biofuel. So the most point for the advantages of the making or the using of ethanol as biofuel instead of biofuel of fossils or fossils biofuel, sustainable resource of energy and releasing less amount of carbon dioxide to add it to the atmosphere, which causes pollution and the global warming. Next point, the disadvantages of ethanol biofueling. It is the same as fossil biofuel by releasing carbon dioxide. So it makes pollute to the environment and affect on the global warming. And the burning of biofuel produce less energy compared to the fossil fuel. So the energy obtaining from ethanol biofuel is less than that in case of fossil fuel. And in case of using the biofuel, ethanol as biofuel, extract from the plants, as we said, in maize plants, so it makes the amount of the plant as maize decrease just using for this production, and the maize plant needed for other products. So we have three disadvantages for using ethanol as biofuel. Release less energy than fossil fuel, and the same wastes for the maize plants, so it affect the other production or the source of food for other people or other products. So it may be affects on the price of the food, so it will be expensive for the people. And the ethanol biofuel release carbon dioxide and causes pollute to the environment. The next point, making washing powder by using enzymes. We know that enzymes is biological substances used for inside the living organisms' bodies for the metabolic reactions. And this enzyme is made of amino acids from the protein and affected by different factors like pH, concentration, temperature, concentration of enzyme, concentration of substrate, and existence of inhibitors which resist the work of the enzyme. In this process for the production or making washing powder by using enzymes, the enzymes used in making detergents. So most of these enzymes which used in industry extract from or obtained from some microorganisms. But these microorganisms firstly enter in some places called fermenters. In these fermenters, the microorganisms provided with oxygen, nutrients, and suitable pH and suitable temperature for producing enzymes. First point, why or what's the importance of enzymes in using in making washing powder? We know that some examples about protease and lipase. Protease for the breaks down of proteins, lipase for breaking down of lipids. These two enzymes used to remove stains from clothes, stains like blood, egg yolk, milk, chocolate, fats, stains. So these two enzymes, protease and lipase, used for making washing powders to remove the stains, which made up of these types of food like proteins and fats. So what are the disadvantages of making washing powder from enzymes? As we said, some people used in detergents or the washing powder improper use, so they breaks down the enzymes, so the stains not removed. We know that the enzyme is affected by the temperature. So in case of using the washing powder or these enzymes in improper temperature or unsuitable temperature, they don't work its function. And maybe some people allergic to these detergents have allergic to these enzymes or this washing powder. So it may be affect their skins, causes skin troubles for these people. And we know that the suitable temperature for the work of enzyme from 30 to 40 or 42, ranging between this temperature. In this temperature, in this range, which called optimum temperature, the enzyme is more and most active. What about the disadvantages of using the washing powder enzyme? If the enzyme or the washing powder work at low temperature, so the enzyme, its activity stop, not destroyed. Low temperature, not making destroyed for the enzyme, just stop its work. High temperature make the enzyme destroyed. But in case of using the detergents or the washing powder in low temperature, the activity of the detergents or these enzymes decrease till stopping. And in case of returning back this temperature to the suitable temperature or optimal temperature, the detergents or the enzyme restore its activity again. Disadvantages of enzymes or these enzymes in making washing powder: to prevent enzymes from digesting proteins and fats in the skin of people handling them. The enzymes are packed into microscopic capsules to protect the skin of the people which will use the detergents, to protect their skins from digesting by using the enzymes. Next point about the extraction of juice from fruits. In this part, just talk about pectin. Pectin is a substance in fruits. This pectin important for holding the plant cell wall together, or the plant cells together, like intermolecular forces in case of molecules. Pectinase enzyme breaks down this pectin, so the force or the binding or the holding between the cells destroyed or breaks down, so the juice from the fruits released. But this enzyme, pectinase, not inside the human. Not inside the human. Pectinase enzyme makes extraction of juice from fruits more easily for squeezing the juice from the fruit. Next point, genetic engineering. In this part, or this science, genetic engineering, by changing, by removing, by inserting genes from species to another. The inserting gene may be from species to another one, but in genetic engineering, we can remove, we can change the genes in the same species without inserting other genes from another one. Like what? We have examples like the insulin production. We know that human body or the pancreas releasing or secrete insulin to control the level of the glucose. The gene which is responsible for the secreting of insulin from the human extract from human body and put it into some types of bacteria. For extraction insulin or more production of insulin from this bacteria for making external injections for the patient's peoples. And we can use the genetic engineering in to control the growing of the plant or the crop plant. Some plants affected by herbicides and chemical pesticides. So some crops have been genetically modified to resist these herbicides or insect pests. Like what? Like soybeans, as you can see. The soybean modified after genetic engineering to resist the herbicide. But scientists find that after the modifying of soya bean by genetic engineering to resist the herbicide, just their weeds are killed when the farmers spray certain herbicides. The weeds of soya beans are killed. Another example about cotton plant. Cotton plant. Cotton plant have been genetically modified like soya bean to resist pesticides and kill the insects which affect the cotton plant. Other example about the golden rice production with more vitamin A. Vitamin A. Vitamin A deficiency or the decrease of amount of vitamin A causes blindness to the human. And this one of genetic engineering used by the Bangladesh and Philippines to modify the golden rice to have more and more vitamin A to protect the human from deficiency of vitamin A to avoid affects blindness. We have some questions. Which one? I think this one. Yes. These questions first, a question about the gene from insulin. It's taken from a human cell and placed in a bacterium. The bacterium can then make human insulin. What is the process called? Muhammad Mahmoud, you hear me?
Genetic engineering.
Genetic engineering, yes. Next question. Why is yeast used in bread making? For provide carbon dioxide or provide ethanol or provide lactic acid or oxygen? Jasmine?
To provide carbon dioxide.
To provide carbon dioxide to make the bread rises, okay? Next. What hasn't increased the world's food production in the last 10 years? Muhammad Zuhbi?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay. Marwan? Who knows the answer, guys?
Pesticides.
Pesticides increase the world's food production in the last 100 years, not pesticides.
Herbicides.
Who said it?
Me.
Reem?
Yes.
What about natural selection?
It's not relevant.
Repeat, please.
The answer is herbicides.
I ask Abu, what about natural selection? Maybe natural selection affects this part or the food production.
Yes, but I don't think it will decrease the food production. I think it will increase it.
Marwan, what do you think?
Well, pesticides can help plants grow, and herbicides